During a lockdown drill, the principal asked me, "Is your mom working at the courthouse today?" "Yeah, she's there until 5, like always," I said, wondering why the principal even cared about my mom's work schedule right now. The intercom had announced a lockdown drill 10 minutes ago, and normally they just sent you back to class after 5 minutes. But Principal Hayes had pulled me out of the hallway and brought me into his office instead. "I need you to stay here with me until the drill is over." He sat down at his desk and started typing something on his computer, but I could see his hands shaking. His phone kept buzzing over and over on the desk, and every time it did, he would glance at it and then look back at me with this weird expression. "So, your dad was planning to pick you up early today, right?" He was trying to act normal, but his voice cracked, and that made alarm bells go off in my head, because principals don't just randomly ask about your parents during drills. "No, my dad's in Florida for work until Thursday." The second I said that, his face went completely pale, and he stared at his computer screen like I'd just told him the worst possible news. Something was seriously wrong, and the way he was acting was starting to freak me out. "Can I go back to class?" We were in the middle of a test. I started to stand up, but he moved between me and the door. "Actually, we need you to stay here just a little bit longer." His phone buzzed again, and he grabbed it so fast he almost knocked over his coffee mug. He read whatever was on the screen, and I watched his shoulders tense up like someone had just told him the worst news possible. The intercom crackled and announced that the lockdown drill was over and students could return to normal activities, but he still didn't move from in front of the door. "Shouldn't I go back to class now?" I asked, standing up again. "Just a few more minutes. Did you talk to anyone strange recently, or notice anyone following you?" His voice cracked on the word following, and that's when I knew this wasn't a normal lockdown drill anymore. The school secretary burst through the door and whispered something to the principal while staring at me the whole time. He nodded, and she left quickly, and I could hear police sirens getting closer to the school. I was getting scared now because this was way beyond weird. "Someone tried to check you out of school today," he finally said, and his professional voice was gone, replaced by something that sounded genuinely scared. "They used your dad's name and had an ID and everything, but Mrs. Peterson in the office got suspicious because they didn't know what grade you were in." My heart started pounding, because my dad was definitely not here and definitely not trying to get me out of school. "The police think the person is still nearby, so we've been keeping you in here where it's safe until they can find him." I could see police officers in the hallway now talking to teachers, and one of them was on the phone. Principal Hayes got a call and answered it immediately, then said, "Are you sure it's him?" "Okay, good. Okay, thank you." He hung up and looked at me with relief washing over his face. "They got him. Your mom is on her way here right now." The office door opened and a police officer walked in with my mom right behind him, and her face was red from crying. She grabbed me and hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. The officer said the man had used a fake ID with my dad's name and tried to sign me out during lunch. The school secretary got suspicious because he couldn't remember what grade I was in. He'd waited in the parking lot for over an hour watching the exits. They caught him trying to approach the east exit where I usually leave to catch my bus. He had a knife and a rope in the bag he had with him. If I'd walked out of the office, I would have gone right past him. "Who was he? Why would he want me?" I asked, even though part of me didn't want to know the answer. The officer answered, "His brother was sentenced to 15 years 3 weeks ago. Your mom was the court clerk who processed all the paperwork for the case. He made threats at the courthouse, but we didn't realize he'd go after family members until he showed up here today." Mom started crying harder and said she thought courthouse security was dealing with it, and she never imagined they'd come after her kid at school. I looked at the door I'd tried to leave through twice and realized that the principal's refusal to let me leave had probably saved me from something a lot worse than missing English class.